Welcome in humanity to another edition of TSAT, which stands for Truth Supersedes All Things at All Times, no matter what, and P.F.E, which stands for Plan for Everything at All Times, no matter what, family. Let's get on in here and listen to this video, family. Economics and Finance 101 for 2026. It says your neighbors are broke, the illusion of success. Let's listen in to all these different cases of people acting like they got it and really living paycheck to paycheck no matter how much money they're making. So let's get in here and listen in real fast to get this education and medication and truth, fact, reality, logic, and objectivity, family. Let's get it.
The family next door just bought a boat, and you're wondering what you're doing wrong. But let me tell you something that'll keep you up tonight. They don't own that boat. The bank does. They don't own their house. They don't own their cars. They don't even own their furniture. They're renting a life they can't afford, and the bill is about to come due. This isn't a story about being jealous of your neighbors. This is a story about the greatest con ever pulled on the American middle class, and you're the mark. Walk down any suburban street in America right now. Notice the manicured lawns, the two-story colonials, the German sedans sitting in driveways like trophies. It all screams success. It all whispers that these people figured something out that you haven't. But here's what those houses don't show you. The second you step inside, there's a different story being told. It's being told in the unopened bills stacked on the kitchen counter. It's being told in the wine your neighbor drinks alone at 11 p.m. to quiet the screaming in her head about next month's payment. It's being told in the fact that 78% of Americans, even the ones who look like they're winning, are living paycheck to paycheck. One
Always.
Busted transmission away from catastrophe.
Facts.
One medical bill away from bankruptcy.
Facts.
One pink slip away from losing everything.
Facts.
You see, we've been trained to measure success by all the wrong metrics. We look at square footage and horsepower and brand names, and we think those things mean security. But they don't. They mean the opposite. Every one of those status symbols is a monthly payment. Every monthly payment is a chain. And the more chains you have, the less free you are.
Facts.
Your neighbors aren't living the dream. They're trapped in a nightmare with good lighting. Let me take you back to a cold morning in October of 1929, Wall Street. The stock market isn't just falling. It's being obliterated. Fortunes that took decades to build are vanished in minutes. Grown men are crying on the trading floor. Some of them will go home and put guns in their mouths because the only thing that made them real was a number in a ledger, and now that number is gone. But this isn't really a story about the stock market. This is a story about what happens when an entire society builds its identity on illusions. See, in the 1920s, America went insane. The economy was booming, and everyone wanted a piece. Working people, secretaries and shop owners and teachers, they started buying stocks. Not with their own money, of course. They were buying on margin, which is a polite way of saying they were gambling with money they didn't have. You could put down 10% and borrow the rest from your broker, and as long as prices kept going up, you looked like a genius. Your neighbors saw you making money and they wanted in too. It became a fever. A mania. People were taking out loans to buy stocks, convinced that the party would never end. Then reality showed up. Prices started falling. Slowly
Reality.
at first, then all at once. And when you've borrowed 90% of your investment, even a small drop wipes you out. The brokers started making margin calls, demanding their money back. People sold everything they had to cover the debt. Then they sold more. The selling triggered more selling. Within days, the entire house of cards collapsed. Millionaires woke up broke. The middle class discovered they'd been playing a game they never understood, with rules that were designed to destroy them.
Hasn't changed.
You would think America learned something from this.
Hell no.
You would think that after bread lines and soup kitchens and families living in shacks made of scrap metal, we would have developed an allergy to debt, an instinct for caution. But we didn't. because the people at the top learned a different lesson. They learned that the crash didn't happen because people borrowed too much. It happened because people stopped spending. And if they could just figure out how to keep people spending forever, they could build an economy that never slowed down. An engine that ran on human desire, fueled by the fear of being left behind. So they started over. But this time, they were smarter about it. This time, they wouldn't just sell products, they would sell identity. They would sell the feeling of being someone who matters. And to do that, they needed to completely rewire how Americans thought about money, about success, about what it meant to live a good life. It's 1945. The war is over. American soldiers are coming home to a country that's about to change in ways nobody can predict. The factories that spent years building bombers and tanks now need something else to build. The problem is, Americans in the 1940s didn't consume the way we do now. They bought what they needed, and then they stopped. They wore clothes until they fell apart. They drove cars until the engine died. They lived in the same house for 40 years. This was a disaster for the people who owned the factories. Growth requires consumption. Infinite growth requires infinite consumption. So they had to manufacture desire where none existed before. Enter Edward Bernays, Sigmund Freud's nephew, a man who understood that human beings don't make rational decisions. We make emotional ones, and then justify them later. Bernays had already proven this. In the 1920s, he was hired by the tobacco industry to get women to smoke. At the time, it was considered unladylike, almost scandalous.
What'd he do?
So Bernays didn't advertise cigarettes. He hired a group of young women to march in the New York City Easter Parade holding cigarettes, which he called torches of freedom. He tipped off the press. He framed smoking as an act of liberation, of defiance against the patriarchy. Sales exploded. He didn't sell a product, he sold an identity, and that blueprint would be used to sell everything else. After the war, corporations brought in psychologists, researchers, people who studied human behavior like entomologists studying insects. They wanted to know what made people tick, what made them buy, what made them feel inadequate. And they discovered something powerful.
What's that?
People don't just want things. They want to feel like they're the kind of person who has those things. The product is irrelevant. What matters is the story you tell yourself about who you become when you own it. So, they built a new American dream from scratch. The old dream was about land, about self-sufficiency, about building something with your hands that you could pass to your children. But you can't sell self-sufficiency. You can't build an economy on people who are content. So they sold a different dream. A dream where happiness came from accumulation. Where success meant a house in the suburbs, 2 cars in the garage, appliances that gleamed like jewelry. They sold the idea that you could buy your way into a better class of person. The suburbs exploded across America like a rash. Identical houses on identical lots, each one filled with identical families trying desperately to keep up with each other. And here's the trick. The houses were never meant to be affordable. They were meant to be financeable. There's a difference. Affordable means you can pay for it. Financeable means the bank will lend you the money, and you'll spend the next 30 years paying it back.
Yeah.
Plus interest. The house isn't the product. The debt is the product.
Facts.
You are the product. Then came the cars. Before the war, a car was transportation. You bought one, maintained it, drove it until it died. Simple. But the car companies realized they were leaving money on the table. If people kept their cars for 10 or 15 years, they'd only sell a car once a decade. So they invented planned obsolescence. They started changing the designs every single year. New tail fins, new grills, new paint colors. They created a culture where driving a 3-year-old car meant you were falling behind, where your vehicle wasn't just transportation.
Same thing as
It was a public statement about your worth as a human being. And then came the masterstroke, the invention that made all of this possible, that turned Americans into the most indebted people in human history:
Uh-huh.
consumer credit. Before the 1950s, debt was shameful. It was what poor people did when they had no other choice. If you wanted something, you saved until you could afford it. But the banks realized that shame was bad for business, so they rebranded it. They stopped calling it debt and started calling it credit. They made it sound sophisticated, responsible even. They called it building your credit score,
Uh-huh.
like it was an achievement instead of a trap. The Diners Club card launched in 1950, the first general-purpose credit card. Within 10 years, banks were mailing credit cards to people who hadn't even applied for them. They made it effortless. Just sign here, just swipe here, pay it back later, or don't pay it back at all. Just make the minimum payment and keep spending. We'll work out the details eventually. And Americans did exactly what they were designed to do. They bought. They bought furniture and appliances and electronics. They bought vacations and jewelry and power tools they'd never use. Every purchase came with a whisper. This is what successful people do. This is what it looks like when you've made it. And if you felt a knot of anxiety about the growing balance, well, that's just the price of living well. Everyone else is doing it. You don't want to be left behind, do you? But here's what they don't tell you about debt. It's not just a financial arrangement. It's a control system. When you owe money, you are not free. You cannot take risks. You cannot walk away from the job that's crushing you because you have payments due. You cannot speak up when you see something wrong because the
Facts.
people you owe have leverage over your entire life. Debt turns citizens into servants. It does it quietly, gradually, so you never notice the exact moment you stopped being free. By the 1980s and 90s, the trap was complete. The culture had shifted so totally that questioning it made you sound insane. Of course you need a mortgage. Of course you need car payments. Of course you need to finance furniture and appliances and vacations. This is just how life works. This is what adults do. And if you suggested living differently, if you said maybe we should only buy what we can afford, people looked at you like you were advocating for poverty. The genius of the system is that it's self-reinforcing. It doesn't need cops to enforce it. Your neighbors enforce it. Your family enforces it. You enforce it on yourself. You see someone pull up in a new Tesla and something inside you twists. You see someone's kitchen renovation on Instagram and suddenly your kitchen looks shabby. You see someone's vacation photos and feel like you're wasting your life. The comparison never stops. The hunger never stops. And that's exactly how they want it. Let me show you what this looks like in flesh and blood. It's 2008, right before everything falls apart. There's a guy named Tom. He's 35, works in sales. Makes about $80,000 a year, which sounds solid. His wife Jennifer is a dental hygienist. She brings in another $45,000. Combined, they're pulling in 6 figures. They should be fine. They should be building wealth. But let's look at their actual life. They live in a 4-bedroom house in a suburb 40 minutes from the city. The house costs $380,000. They put down 3.5%, the minimum they could. Their mortgage payment is $2,400 a month, and that's before property taxes and insurance, which add another $700. Tom drives a leased Audi because he meets clients and needs to look successful. That's $550 a month. Jennifer drives a leased Lexus SUV because it's safe and she deserves something nice. That's another $490 a month. They have 2 kids. The public schools in their area are overcrowded and underfunded, so they're paying for private school. $1,800 a month for both kids. They both have student loans from college. Tom's is $200 a month. Jennifer's is $350. They have credit card debt, not from anything crazy. Just from furnishing the house, buying clothes, taking the family to Disney World last year, fixing the air conditioner when it broke. The minimum payments total around $600 a month. Added up: mortgage, property tax, insurance, 2 car leases, private school, student loans, credit card minimums. That's $7,390 a month. But Tom and Jennifer bring home, after taxes and health insurance and retirement contributions, about $7,800 a month. That leaves them $410 for everything else: groceries, gas, utilities, phone bills, internet, clothes for the kids, car insurance, any entertainment, any emergency. $410. They are broke. Objectively, mathematically broke.
Facts.
But if you met them, you wouldn't know it. They look successful. They live in a nice house. They drive nice cars. Their kids go to good schools. They smile at neighborhood barbecues. And inside, they are drowning. 1 car accident away from disaster. 1 medical emergency away from bankruptcy. 1 layoff away from losing everything. But they can't admit it, because admitting it means admitting they failed, admitting they didn't actually make it. Tom and Jennifer are not unusual. They are the norm. Across every suburb in America, there are millions of people living this exact life, trapped by their own purchases,
Hundreds of millions.
imprisoned by their need to look successful. And the cruelest part is they think this is winning. They think they're living the dream. Now, let's talk about who profits from this arrangement. Because none of this happened by accident. This is not the invisible hand of the free market. This is a designed system built to extract wealth from ordinary people and concentrate it at the top. The banks win. Every time you swipe a credit card, they take a cut from the merchant. Every month you carry a balance, they collect interest. The average American household with credit card debt pays about $1,200 a year just in interest. Not paying down the principal, just interest. That's $1,200 of your life, your labor, your time, handed to a bank for the privilege of buying things you couldn't afford in the first place. The corporations win. They've built products designed to fail. Your phone gets slower after 18 months. Your washing machine breaks right after the warranty expires. Your car's transmission dies at 90,000 miles. This isn't bad luck. This is engineered obsolescence. They need you to replace everything constantly, forever, or their quarterly earnings disappoint shareholders and the stock price drops. The real estate industry wins. They've convinced generations of Americans that renting is throwing money away, that a house is an investment, that you're building equity. But they don't mention that for the first 10 years of a 30-year mortgage, almost all your payment goes to interest. They don't mention closing costs, property taxes, maintenance, insurance. They don't mention that if you'd rented and invested the difference, you'd probably come out ahead. But they can't sell that story. That story doesn't generate commissions. The advertising industry wins. They've spent billions learning how to hack your psychology. They know exactly which insecurities to poke. They know how to make you feel inadequate. They know how to create a problem you didn't know you had and then sell you the solution. And they're getting better at it every year. More targeted, more personalized. The ads follow you across the internet like a stalker, learning your weaknesses, exploiting your fears. But here's the truly insidious part. The system doesn't need guards anymore. It doesn't need enforcers. You police yourself. You see your coworker's new watch and feel a spike of envy. You see your friend's vacation photos and feel like you're falling behind. You internalize the competition so completely that you don't even realize you're running a race nobody can win. The cage is invisible because you built it yourself, one purchase at a time. Let me tell you what real wealth actually looks like, because it's nothing like what they sold you. Real wealth is not a luxury car depreciating in your driveway. Real wealth is not a house so big you have rooms you never enter. Real wealth is freedom. Real wealth is time. Real wealth is waking up and realizing that nobody owns you. That you could quit your job today and be fine for years.
Uh,
That your time belongs to you and nobody else. There's an old concept that's been scrubbed from polite conversation. It used to be called fuck you money. It's the amount of money you need saved to be able to say fuck you to anyone trying to control you. Your boss demands you work the weekend? Fuck you. Your landlord tries to raise the rent illegally? Fuck you. The system tries to squeeze you into compliance? Fuck you. I'll find another way. And the number is smaller than you think. If you own your home outright, if you drive a paid-off car that runs fine, if you've cut your lifestyle down to what actually matters, you can live on very little. Maybe $30,000 a year. Maybe less. If you have $400,000 invested conservatively, generating a 4% return, that's $16,000 a year. Add in some part-time work, doing something you actually enjoy, and you're free. You're out of the cage. But most people never get there. They spend their entire lives chasing the next thing. The bigger house, the newer car, the better vacation, the private schools, the country club membership. Every new thing promises to finally make them happy, to finally prove they made it. But it never does. The hunger never stops. The comparison never ends. And they die having spent 40 years making monthly payments on a life they never actually wanted. I want you to stop right now and look around wherever you are. Count how many things you own that you don't actually need. That fancy coffee maker you used twice and now it sits on the counter gathering dust. The exercise equipment that became a clothing rack. The boat in the driveway covered with a tarp, used maybe 3 times a year. The designer handbag. The golf clubs. The power tools. The second television. The third television. Every single one of those things cost you money you had to work for. Every one of them costs you ongoing maintenance, insurance, storage, mental energy. They're not possessions. They're burdens. They're anchors keeping you tied to the dock while you dream about sailing away. There's a reason minimalism exploded in popularity over the last decade. It's not a hipster trend. It's a response to suffocation. People are drowning in stuff, and they're finally realizing that more things don't make them happier. Past a certain very modest point, more things make you miserable, more to clean, more to maintain, more to worry about, more to insure, more to lose. The way out is simple, but it's not easy. It requires doing something that goes against every message you've absorbed since childhood. It requires not caring what people think. It requires defining success on your own terms. It requires being okay with being invisible. Sell the car you can't afford and buy something reliable with cash. A 10-year-old Honda will get you to work just as well as a leased BMW, and it won't own a piece of your soul. Downsize the house. Move to a cheaper area if you need to. Your kids don't need a big backyard. They need parents who aren't constantly stressed about money. Cut up the credit cards. All of them. If you can't buy it with cash, you can't afford it. Pay off every debt like your life depends on it, because it does. Stop eating out 5 times a week. Learn to cook. Stop buying new clothes every season. Wear what you have until it wears out. Stop trying to impress people who frankly don't care about you and wouldn't help you if you were drowning. Every dollar you don't spend is a dollar of freedom. Every debt you eliminate is a chain you break. It won't happen overnight. It might take 3 years. It might take 10. But every single month, you'll feel lighter. Every month, the knot in your stomach will loosen a little. And one day, maybe 5 years from now, maybe 7, you'll wake up and realize you're not afraid anymore. You're not afraid of your boss because you have 2 years of expenses in the bank. You're not afraid of what your neighbors think because you stopped playing their game. You're not afraid of the future because you built something real. This is the secret they don't want you to know. You don't need them. You don't need their approval. You don't need their products. You don't need to participate. The door was never locked. You can walk out anytime you want. You just have to be willing to look crazy to people who are themselves insane. Your neighbors are broke. The family with the boat, the couple with the new kitchen, the guy with the sports car.
Truth and facts were spoken here, family.